You're watching another great interview on Audio Inc. Radio.
Hey, what's up? This is Edsel from the band Dope, and I am hanging out with Anne Erickson on Audio Inc. Radio.
What's going on? It's Anne Erickson with Audio Inc. Radio, and I'm really happy to be here with Edsel from Dope. How are you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm excellent.
Well, you have a lot going on. So, first of all, of course, the new record is out February 23rd, which is a long ways away, but it's never too soon to get excited for Dope music. So, tell me about how this record will be available for free and why you guys went that route.
You know, it's funny. I haven't really talked about this much, so I don't have a nice, clean, rehearsed answer.
That's good.
I just felt like the right thing to do. I'm super self-contained. I'm the band's producer and mixer and manager and creative director. And as I was finalizing the album, I don't know, it just felt like the natural thing to do, to just give it to the fans who want it. And of course, if people want to buy vinyl or a digipack or something like that, they can. But the people that just want the music, here, my gift to you.
How will people get it? Is there a way that they enter their email address, or how does that work?
Yeah, all they have to do is go to our official web store, which is at dopetheband.com, and then you just check out a cart as if you were buying. But if you just put the digital version of the album in the cart, then it doesn't ask you for payment, and then it just delivers it to you after. That's one of the things that, as you said, the album doesn't technically come out till February, but that just means that that's when the last song will be released. But we're releasing, we started out releasing 2 tracks when we announced it, and then I think we have another track coming next week, and then pretty much up until the album comes out, like every 3 to 4 weeks, we're dropping another song.
Okay.
So if you sign up for it, then as soon as those songs are dropped, then they get emailed to you right away. So you don't have to look for it. It just shows up in your email box.
All right. Well, cool. Very cool. And tell me about how the new record, Blood Money Part 0, how it relates to Blood Money Part 1.
I have so many songs. It's kind of stupid. Again, being a self-contained producer, artist, like I have hard drives full of material. Because I'm the starting point and the end point, I find it very difficult for me to finish things. So I have lots of unfinished stuff. And it's not until I feel like it's actually finished that it's deemed finished. Earlier on in my career, other people would impose deadlines on me, which would force things to come out oftentimes sooner than I felt like it was ready to, but it was what it was. But so now that's sort of, it's a benefit, but it's also sort of a curse. Sometimes it means things take longer, but so as it relates to Blood Money Part 1, a lot of the stuff on Blood Money Part 0 was in production prior to Blood Money Part 1. And a lot of it was, I won't say a lot of it, but I would say a handful of it were demos for another project that I was doing prior to Blood Money Part 1, which some people know about at this point, but a lot of people don't. It was called Drama Club, where I was actually, I took about 3 years of my life. I put on a mask and I just kind of hid from the world. And it was this crazy electronic sort of house party just thing. And you can find it online, but we toured the world with Black Veil Brides and Falling in Reverse, and did Warped Tour of 2015, I believe, which was a really great experience. But for me, it was just very disconnected from everything I had done purposely. So again, some of the material was from that, and some of the material was newer stuff. But for the most part, it felt right to title the album Part 0 and to make it a prequel, because the majority of the material was written either the same time frame as Blood Money Part 1 or before it. So, and again, I have so much more music. I don't know if I ever want to put out another album. because I feel like the pressure of it's part of what makes it take so long. I think that after this album comes out, I'll just go to a single format and I'll just release songs when they're done. And again, because I'm not looking to profit from it, I'll just put them out when I feel like it, and let that sort of become the new model.
Right, that makes sense. And I mean, we're living in a singles world anyway, so.
Totally. I agree entirely. I think that because I had taken so long after Blood Money Part 1, I felt sort of a responsibility to release a full length. But yeah, I really don't have much interest in doing that again, especially because I don't have to follow any rules. So I'll just do what feels right. I think it'll ultimately please the fans more too, because they'll get a more consistent stream from me, as opposed to having to wait 5 years between records. I think it was 6 years on this one, but it's not deliberate. I got a lot of other shit going on. I'm just not. I think there's a lot of artists that do nothing but like play in their band and tour all the time. And I've been doing this shit for 25 years. Like, if this was all I did, I'd put my fucking brains out. Like, I have to, be diversified and have a bunch of other stuff in my life in order to not feel like my life is one dimensional.
Right.
It was cool when I was 24 years old, but it's not cool in your 40s, in my opinion.
Right. No, definitely. And I mean, on that subject, you actually released an infomercial of sorts, talking about your personal life and all the different stuff that you're up to. So what motivated you to, share that side of yourself with fans?
It just felt like it was time. I've been, I hate to use the word, but I've mostly been a bit of a private person through the course of my career. I think a lot of that is just because social media doesn't appeal to me, like either from a subject standpoint or from a fan standpoint. I appreciate being able to go on a device to get information quicker. But I'm just old school, I think, and and also it's probably age related. Like, if I would have come up in this environment, maybe it would be different. If we would have had Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok when I was 24 years old, and my band was like targeting 16-year-old kids, like, it would have been a very natural thing, and it would have really been super beneficial. But our fan base is a bit older, and I'd like to think that most of my fans, they participate in social media, I think, a lot like I do, where they use it for like their kids' softball or their kids' t-ball, or for something related to their work. But the young people sort of use social media the way that my generation used MTV, or used rock and roll magazines, and all those things that don't really exist anymore. So so I feel like, it sounds stupid, I feel like unless you know me, which is not that many people, because again, I don't go out much, and even the fans, unless you've like participated in a meet and greet and like hung out with me for an hour and talked to me, which gives you this much of a glimpse of who I am. I feel like people have a very what's the word? I'm not warped, but just a very inaccurate representation of who I am, just as a man in general. I feel like if you read interviews with me when I was 25 years old, literally 20 plus years ago, I was completely different than I am now. Like, of course, the energy of the band and certain elements of my personality will always be there, but I was a kid, and probably very narcissistic, and all about wanting to be famous and wanting attention and all those things. And as I got older, those things just became very, very, very insignificant to me, and not part of the overarching personality. Which is why I participate like none on social media. Like, you can go to my personal social media. I think there's a picture of me and my kid from literally a year ago when she turned 1. She's about to turn 2. I just don't participate in it. So your 3 to 5 minute answer of this very simple question you asked me was, I think I made the infomercial just to sort of reintroduce myself to my fans and to people like yourself who may have either no idea of who I am, or more likely a very inaccurate perception of who I am. So it was a good 8 or 9 minute little starting point that if you're interested in me, watch this. It'll give you an idea of who I am and catch you up on my life, and then we can go from there. So that's why I did it.
I mean, you are so busy, all the stuff you mentioned in the infomercial. You've got your tech company, production company, record label. What motivates you to keep Dope going? Because you obviously have a lot on your plate.
That's a good question. I think that partially, okay. So this doesn't really answer your question, but it's an important point to make for understanding me and how I work. So when I was growing up, all I wanted to do was play in a band and be successful and be a rock star, whatever that quantifies. And there were a lot of reasons that people tried to discourage me from doing that at a young age. But the most important one was never told to me. And that is that, like, the American dream is really to, like, own your own business, like build something from nothing, work for yourself, build a small business of some sort. Let's compare my band to a pizza shop. And like you open a pizza shop and everybody loves the recipe of your pizza, and you have a clientele that comes in, you know, and you have your regular customers, and you're very proud of the small business that you built. And then the American dream is you get older and you either sell that business and retire, or you leave that business to your kids. You can't do that with a band. And that's something that you don't realize until you have a successful band and you begin to get older and you start going like, man, I've got 25 years invested in this business that is worth this much if I don't participate in it. So again, I'm giving the music away for free. So it's not that it's a big part of my overarching revenue stream, but it is something I've invested 25 years of my life in. So it's very hard for me to just sort of walk away from it and just go like, yeah, I'm not gonna participate in this at all. So I would prefer to participate in it less than not at all, which is again why it's taken 6 years to circle back to it to make a record. But I just I've got too much invested in it, and there's too much of a cool kind of cult following community that's attached to it for me to feel good about just abandoning it. It just wouldn't feel right. And that's the best way I can put it. Like if it was a pizza shop, I'd probably leave it to my kid, or sell it or do something different with it where I could maybe still be involved, but I would find a way for it to actually service my clients more frequently than it's able to. But there's no way to really do that and have the quality is maybe the wrong word, the integrity. Like, sure, I could bring in a bunch of, hired dudes and go, here, make a dope record, and just go like, it's dope, but then it wouldn't be dope and it wouldn't feel right. But I don't know. I like I said, I think when it becomes a singles business for me, it'll be more fun. And we got a big tour coming up in February, which will be cool. So I don't know. It's just part of what I do.
Yeah, no, it's part of who you are too.
Sure. But it doesn't define who I am, which is very important for me to, kind of get out there. I think a lot of people get defined by their art. They get defined by the bands that they're in. And that was part of the problem with me in the earlier parts of my career, was it did define me. And it was like soulless and unhappy. Like this band's energy is pretty chaotic. And, when you're the head of it, like I was for, so many years when I was still going through that process of being a young man, becoming a man. Musicians have what I call Peter Pan syndrome. Like most musicians, like we grow up later than our friends back home, because we live on the road in a way that's not conventional, and it sort of rewards immature behavior. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I mean, being on tour and being on a bus with all your friends and partying and all that stuff is fun. But there comes a point in your life where least for me. And it came earlier than I realized, where you just keep reliving these same experiences, and they don't really, it's like watching Star Wars 3,000 times. Like the first 10 times is really great, but like how many times can you watch it and get a really good, rewarding experience from it? So for me, it stunted my growth a bit, where, I sort of became the character of Edsel Dope. My morals and my everything that made me who I was got lost in that character, and being on the road all the time, being surrounded by people that sort of were there to serve me, for lack of better words. Like everybody worked for me. So it allowed me to sort of detach from reality a little bit, and kind of realize that at some point that, like, this is going to sound really cheesy, but like who I was in the mirror, like, didn't reflect the man that my mother raised me to be. And I kind of had to like take a few steps backwards to like go like, well, on several levels, you are like, you're successful in business, you work really hard, and you're not a drug addict. Like, I've never had any conflicts of that sort, but you're also like egotistical. You don't treat people the best because you think that you're some hot shit dude in a band, but like really you're just a dick. Like, you're not, like, how does this make you better? How does it make people around you better? Like, it just, it's just kind of the soulless little circle of not the best energy. So I had to correct that, which I did. I don't know how I got into this, but now it's, again, that I probably had that realization, 15 years ago, something like that now, 14, 13, something like that. But I just don't have, other than the band and the punk rock spirit of the band, I just don't have a lot in common with that entity. So I just can't define myself as that guy in the band. Like, it's way too limiting for being a dad and being a grown ass business owner. Like I said, a son to my mother who didn't raise me to be some, chaotic,
Right.
disrespectful dude. Like, it's not who I am. So
On that note, you of course are very close with Static X, and I'm wondering, what do you miss most about Wayne Static?
see, this is another one that you could open up and go 100 different places with. I mean, Wayne was like, before Wayne became a drug addict, he was a totally different person. Like, and before he married his wife, who was also a drug addict, and a very trying to think of the right way to put this, like, respectfully, not even respectfully, like a very controlling person, very manipulative person, that once the two of them sort of became this entity of addiction and toxification, um, it really was isolated, and it really became um, just like there was no more Wayne. Like, it's weird. It became this entity of the two of them together, and it was, again, 6 feet of addiction and stupidity between him and reality. So if you want to go back to like, what do I miss about Wayne, I mean, you have to go way back to like before all that, because that shit started happening to him in like 2008, 2009, maybe even sooner. And then it was 10 years of his life where he just wasn't there on most levels. But the Wayne that I knew before all of that was just soft in the best of ways, like just a really innocent dude, like a bit insecure and just like soft spoken and very sweet and very agreeable. Super talented, loved his voice. Like, if I miss anything, I miss that those guys, my original goal is I really thought I could be the guy to bring Wayne and Tony back together. And I had a plan for doing so. And I spoke to Wayne about it before he died. And I think it was very much plattered up to happen. But again, the addiction and the fog was going to be the most difficult part to penetrate, because you can bring somebody together and you can make a record with them, and you can figure out a way to sort of like, cheat it for a period of time. But eventually, if you haven't fixed the problem, it's gonna spin off into the ditch. Um, but in a perfect world, if Wayne could have gotten clean and not been in that just crazy manipulated state that he was in, man, it would have been awesome to have healthy Wayne and those three original Static X band members with him to like go in a studio and make great music and laugh together and just have those personalities interact in positive ways that they did at one time. So I guess what I miss more than anything is like the potential possibility of what could have happened. But in the real world, I certainly miss the sincere, sweet dude that he was. But man, that guy was gone for a lot longer than I'm not sure people really know. People,
Right.
And then you get the people that think they know, but they don't. And if you were one of those people that was showing up to Wayne Static shows, bringing him Oxycontin so you could party with them, well, then you're part of the fucking problem. And I'm not interested in your opinion
Right.
anyway. All you did was help, a dude leave the planet that, didn't need to leave.
Yeah. No, absolutely. All right, I have to ask because of course, I have to ask, are you the mystery singer in Static X?
The mystery singer in Static X. This is a fun question. And I can answer it for you like this. I would say that I'm certainly involved with Static X. I produced the record, and I'm in the process of producing another one for them right now. I kind of like to consider myself to be the creative director for Static X because there was a big void left by Wayne, and somebody sort of needed to step in that has that sort of capability. But as far as who's singing for Static X Under the Mask, I think that it's important for me or for us to say that the goal was that for there always to only ever be one living, breathing singer of Static X, and that's Wayne Static. And as long as we don't put another face to Static X, then Wayne will always be the face of Static X. And I think that is ultimately the goal. So the idea was to create a entity, for lack of better words, a masked entity that could allow Static X to live on and to go out and perform while keeping the focus on the three guys that helped start the band with Wayne and somebody there to represent Wayne as opposed to replace Wayne. So I'm definitely involved with Static X. They're my friends and I'm here for them. But the last thing that I'm ever interested in seeing is Edsel Dope, lead vocalist of Static X. That's not something I would be interested in being. So,
Yep.
Edsel Dope is not the singer of Static X.